Hey guys, welcome to another huge episode of Triggered. Today is going to be a really special one. We have legendary author, political columnist, political commentator, and lawyer David Limbaugh. Plus, we'll bring you all of the, I'd say highlights, but that would be a lie. We'll bring you all of the lowlights from this week's DNC in Chicago. So David Limbaugh's written a bunch of books. Many of you, I'm sure, have read like Guilty by Reason of Insanity, The Resurrected Jesus, and so many more. He's an incredible career. He's one of the most well-respected conservative thought leaders we have. And of course, David is also the brother of the late, great talk radio icon, Rush Limbaugh. So there's going to be a lot to cover and a lot to learn. Guys, make sure you're liking, sharing, subscribing. That way we can beat the algorithm. We can get the message out there. You see, I'm sure we'll cover this with David as well. You'll see the full cover that the mainstream media is giving Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, and the entire Democrat Party. We need a breakthrough. You guys are a huge, huge part of that. So the rest of big tech is also stacked against us. So we just have to work harder. We have to work better. We have to work smarter to break through all of the noise and actually grow this movement. Remember, you can also get Triggered on Spotify. You can get it on Apple Podcasts. If you missed the show here on Rumble, go check it out over there. If you have friends that get their podcast that way, make sure they like, share, subscribe, whatever it may be. That way, they are getting it and we get the message out. Also, guys, for all of the top headlines that we'll spotlight here on the show, go over and check out my news app, MXM News, like minute by minute, MXM, okay, where you can get the mainstream news without the mainstream bias. We built it. We got debanked because, of course, we're showing people the truth. But check it out. I'm sure you'll see the stories that you're not going to see in other places. And, you know, guys like me, we actually act. When people say, oh, if you don't like what you get on Apple, you don't like what you get here, there, or whatever it is, build your own. So we actually do. Your guys' support would be greatly appreciated. So that's MXM News. You can get it, you know, on Apple. You can get it on, you know, Google Play Store, all these places. Just check it out. I think you'll like it. And, of course, don't forget about our incredible sponsors, the people who have the guts to support programming just like this. Sponsors like Tax Network USA. So let me ask you guys, frankly, are you receiving letters right now from the IRS claiming you owe back taxes? Every day, the IRS is sending out thousands of lien notices to hardworking Americans like yourself. Remember, they didn't just bring in those 85,000 new IRS agents, the ones that are armed, right? They didn't do that to go after the billionaires, folks. There's not enough billionaires on the planet, let alone in America. They're doing it to go after people like yourselves. So as penalties and interest fees pile up, the IRS gives you no clear path to resolution. Don't speak to them, folks. They are not your friends. Ask me how I know. I've had my fair share of dealings with these three ledger agencies in government. They aren't your friends. So to reach a team of licensed tax professionals that can help you reduce, settle, and resolve your tax matters, call Tax Network USA today or go to tnusa.com/Don Jr. That's TN, like Tax Network, tnusa.com/Don Jr. And guys, while we're at it, with the stock market uncertainty, inflation through the roof, absolute insanity across the board, don't forget to protect yourself from the abject ridiculousness of this world with the Birch Gold Group. Look, you see the markets, you see the volatility, you know the Fed is just printing more and more money. That means that your costs go up and your quality of life goes down. So as I always say, I simply want you to be prepared. For over 20 years, Birch Gold Group has helped thousands of Americans protect their savings by converting an IRA or 401k into an IRA in physical gold. You can do that tax and penalty free. So to learn more, text Don Jr., DONJR, just text Don Jr. to the number 989898 to claim your free, no obligation info kit on gold. Again, put in the number 989898 in the text, put in Don Jr., DONJR, get the free information, learn, educate yourself how you can hedge against the ridiculousness of the world, protect yourself, educate yourself, learn, make the right informed decision Check it out today. And now, guys, let's take a look at some of the top headlines from the week. This whole week at the DNC, they're trying to create a fake image of who Kamala Harris really is. They're telling you she's some hardened prosecutor. But in fact, she was named the most liberal prosecutor in all of California. She was also named the most liberal senator in the United States Senate in 2019. And she even expunged the criminal record of several illegal immigrant drug dealers. Just got rid of it like it never happened. I mean, come on, these are great people. We want them in our streets, I guess, according to Democrats and Kamala Harris. But it turns out that Kamala doesn't just want to defund the police. She doesn't want any police at all.
Well, on the issue of militarization of police, I have a long-standing record saying we need to demilitarize police, and we really need to get to a point where communities, frankly, don't need a law enforcement response to what's happening in their communities because they are safe communities.
Did you guys catch that? She said, and I quote, "We really need to get to a point where communities, frankly, don't need a law enforcement response to what's happening in their communities," end of quote. I mean, you seriously? This week, some speakers have talked about Kamala Harris's Back on Track program. That program actually allowed an illegal immigrant to avoid prison. What did that illegal end up doing? He ended up assaulting a woman because, of course, they did. Check it out.
I was shocked. They tried to run me over with a getaway car. He almost killed me right over here. He was laughing as he fractured my skull.
Amanda's attacker was an illegal immigrant drug dealer arrested twice before, but released by San Francisco DA Kamala Harris.
If Kamala Harris hadn't let him out, this never would have happened to me.
Kamala put violent illegals, convicted felons, back on the streets.
Kamala just doesn't care about protecting people like me.
Make America Great Again Inc. is responsible for the content of this advertising.
One speaker at the DNC basically let their plans be known. They have to pretend to be normal now, and then they can act all crazy. Seriously, that's actually what he said.
We got 70 days to act right, y'all. That's right. Now, after 7 days, we can go back there and crazy. Right?
Can you believe this? And this is exactly what the media is doing, right? They're gaslighting Americans. They're telling us Kamala's a moderate. They're telling us she's going to do crackdown on the border and she's going to fix inflation and do all of the things she literally could have been doing for the last 3.75 years, but didn't, because they have no intention of ever doing any of those things. They're trying to act normal to win the Midwest vote and get people that would never otherwise vote for Kamala Harris to believe that she's going to be normal. But she's not. And they're saying it out loud. Don't fall for it. Don't let yourself be gaslit. What else is going on at the DNC? It's a convention about the hatred of one man. They don't have any ideas to fix the economy. They don't even address the problems. During the first night of the DNC, for example, they said the word Trump 147 times. But strangely enough, they said inflation just 3 times, and crime just 6 times. They don't want to talk about their policies because their policies are trash. They don't want to talk about inflation because they caused it. They don't want to talk about crime because they wanted to defund the police and are soft on crime and criminals and illegals and the fentanyl coming across our border and the human trafficking and child sex trafficking happening on a daily basis. What's their plan on the border? The DNC's 2024 platform, which mentions Biden's second term 19 different times, endorses a bill to create a pathway to citizenship for the millions of illegal aliens in the country today. Their comprehensive immigration plan is to open the floodgates to millions and give them all access to Social Security and Medicare. Those systems are already struggling. They're almost broken. They want to now add millions who've never paid into those systems onto the roster. What do you think that does for you? What do you think that does for the future benefits you are actually entitled to receive? Let's just say it's not good, folks. But when they try to make a difference between Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, even though she's part of this administration, even though this administration's own press secretary said there is no light between Joe Biden and Kamala Harris on the issues, they're trying to tell you that now she's magically going to change. She's not pushing Joe to do any of these things, again, because she has no intention of actually doing any of them. She just will tell you whatever it takes to get your vote. Kamala, the chameleon. She's whatever she needs to be to get that vote, and then she'll go and be the radical that she's always been. Guys, this isn't all, though. The bill Kamala Harris supports, the U.S. Citizenship Act, would allow illegal immigrants deported during the Trump administration to come back into the U.S. and become citizens. I mean, how crazy is this stuff? It's not like we're a little bit off here. This is radical stuff. They want to flood our country. In many cases, tens of millions of people who in many cases may not have any education, may not add any value, but they will be reliable Democrat voters because they will be dependent on your taxpayer dollars to survive. And as long as you have dependents, you have people that will vote for Democrats. What about the economy? Well, Kamala Harris wants to start a second Great Depression. She's supporting a proposal to tax unrealized gains. Okay, think about it. Unrealized gains. You buy a house for $100,000, you hold on to it for 30 years, it's now worth $1 million. Okay? 30 years is a long time. Unrealized gains is the $900,000, but you don't have any cash to pay it off. Okay? You don't have any cash to pay it off. You just still own the house that you live in. But now she wants to tax the $900,000 that it went up, even though you didn't sell it, even if you have no way of paying it. Okay, again, this means people would have to pay a tax on assets they have not even sold yet. That would completely destroy investment in this country. People would literally flee. People wouldn't buy homes. There'd be no reason to. And get this, the Labor Department this week announced that the nation's economy added far fewer jobs last year and earlier this year than previously reported. Huh? I'm shocked to hear this, folks. It's almost like every report, and I think all but one, maybe two, were all redacted later and changed and lowered because they're lying to you. They'll tell you whatever it is to make it seem like it's great, and then they give you the actual numbers a couple months later. Then they give you the glowing report, and the actual numbers come out a couple months later. To the average person, it looks like things are going great, but they're not. In fact, so we are clear, monthly payroll statistics overstated new jobs by over 800,000 during the 12-month period. That's a lot of jobs to be overstated by, right? That's insane. That's a downward revision of nearly 30%. 30%, a third. They revised things downward a third from what they were telling you. You know, Bidenomics, it's working. We should probably play a clip of Kamala Harris talking about just how great Bidenomics really is. But over the year, they revised things down nearly 30%. Why is no one talking about that? Why won't the media point that out? Because they're all in it for Kamala Harris and the Democrats, despite the fact that those people are objectively failing Americans on a daily basis. Are they just cooking the books at this point? How can that happen? Just by clerical error? How can it happen each and every quarter, each and every reporting period? Here's my father laying it all out in North Carolina yesterday.
Before we begin, I want to address the massive scandal around the revised job numbers that were just announced this morning, a little while ago, just before I came up, I got to see them. And it really isn't a revision, it's a total lie. Total lie. There's never been any revision like this. They wanted it to come out after the election, but somehow it got leaked. It got leaked. Government leaks too. The Harris-Biden administration has been caught fraudulently manipulating job statistics to hide the true extent of the economic ruin that they've inflicted on America. The new data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows that the administration padded the numbers with an extra, listen to this one, 818,000 jobs that don't exist. So they said they existed, and they never did exist. They built them up so that they could say what a wonderful job they're doing. No, we've never had numbers like this.
And furthermore, Kamala's vision for the country is quite literally taking your money and giving it to illegal immigrants. Luckily for her, the media isn't covering it. Analysis from the Media Research Center shows that the legacy media's coverage of Kamala Harris has been 84% positive, while it has been 89% negative for my father. Do you think that's fair? Do you think that's right? Given her history, given her policies, given that she's hiding from them, given that she won't even answer their questions or do a press conference, something that's not on a teleprompter, do you think that she should get that much positive coverage while my father, who's willing to go out there, who actually have policies that work, they've worked in the past, they will work again, gets 89% negative coverage? Shouldn't they be looking at the mainstream media and maybe, I don't know, have the Federal Election Commission go after them for an in-kind contribution to the Democratic Party? That's trillions of dollars of free advertising, pretending the Democrats are doing a great job. The Democrats are relying solely on good media coverage and so-called vibes and cheap applause lines, right? It's a joyful campaign, Kamala Harris. It's one filled with joy. I don't see a lot of joy at the supermarket checkout lines. I don't see a lot of joy, people at the pump. I certainly don't see a lot of joy in the Middle East or in Russia, Ukraine, where wars are going all over the place. I certainly don't see a lot of joy in Taiwan when they're wondering when they're going to get invaded because America's weak leadership under the Harris-Biden administration has allowed for these things to happen. It's not joy. That's just the DNC talking points that the media is gladly and willing to run with. For example, here's an interesting clip, which is a perfect example of the outright delusion of the so-called political elite. Check this out for yourself.
You see, my mom, in her steady, quiet way, lived out that striving sense of hope every single day of her life. She believed that all children, all people have value, that anyone can succeed if given the opportunity. She and my father didn't aspire to be wealthy. In fact, they were suspicious of folks who took more than they needed.
So, this is funny. I mean, Michelle Obama's literally telling everyone that her parents didn't trust rich people. Okay. Didn't trust them. You know, they earn more than they deserve. They earn more than their share, their fair share. They have more than their fair share. So, I'm just curious.